started on going live, and it's gonna add a title. So part three,
Yep.
black and white to color. So black and white. Go live. Yep. Can you hear me? Oh, good. All right. So it's just getting ready to go here, and it looks like it is ready. So what I'm going to do is exit my screen. There we go. And then here. All right. So the other day, we were doing some black and white stuff, and I started in showing some things, and Monica, we didn't, oops, there's nothing there. There, shades of gray. So I started by talking about how I was in the dark room a lot, and just learned to see things in a different way, because when you kind of remove color from things, you can, it just creates a whole nother world. And I am really fortunate in that it doesn't take much for me to actually see in black and white. Now, I'm not saying that I put a filter across my eyeballs and everything turns out black and white, but I can look at something and translate it in my head to what it will probably look like in black and white. I have to probably thank my mom for that. Where is that piece of fabric? There it is. So my mom was a master weaver and sewed all our clothes and everything like that and everything. And she always taught us about colors. And my very first thing I ever played with was a color wheel. And so I learned what colors reflected the same kind of light, and how they would look in different tones and hues. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Well, you can't. You're seeing my screen. You can't see that. I'll show this later. I'll show that. Yeah. So I'll show that later. It's a really cool thing. I'll post a picture of it. My mom did this weaving of all different kind of colors. So that was just an amazing thing to do, to learn about what you can do with black and white. And I started in the dark room, and I talked about that. And oftentimes where we're going, like this was a picture that we took. We were heading to Wyoming, and we were going on this road out that's a kind of a cutoff back road out of Idaho that heads through Sun Valley and then goes to Jackson Hole. And the roads just do that undulating kind of thing. But we were there in the middle of the day. And in the middle of the day is really bad on lighting for any kind of photography. But the digital cameras these days, and film even, will pick up what's there. You might not necessarily see it right away, but it picks up what's there. So you can then adjust your highlights and shadows to make things pop more. Like this picture right here. I mean, you look at the reflections and stuff. This was maybe late morning, right outside of Jackson Hole, and we were heading on into Wyoming. But you can tell by the reflection that it's not at much of an angle, so the light was pretty high. So I was able to like cut out not take a picture with the sky in, but really kind of focus here and get some shadows and some definition in the background, which was the snow-covered hills, or the lightly covered. But that wasn't the main focus. What I really wanted, was back here, was the duck, was the reflection, was this cool swamp area. And so I learned kind of how to do that a lot. We did that. This was actually, so these two pictures, no, this one, I don't have the other one. This one is actually an abstract. And what I did was I kind of completely blew out the whites and and the highlights, and dropped down and desaturated some other things so that I got this cool abstract kind of thing. So it kind of creates a whole bunch of different kind of art. This is this, if you've ever been up to Roche Harbor on San Juan Island. Sarah, have you ever been up here?
No.
Oh, so this place on San Juan Island, Roche Harbor, is really kind of, this is a family mausoleum that was built by the family that actually started that whole area. And there's this beautiful, beautiful graveyard. And it has, there's one of the pillars that is broken, signifying one of the family that broke away. And the chairs, everything has a significance, and it's just this beautiful thing. And the Hotel de Haro is up there, and it's a really cool, I mean, Teddy Roosevelt stayed there and all kinds of things. So there's a lot of fun things to do with black and white. Sometimes it's the story that it tells, like this one. This one was one of those things that it's that where you look. We were on the Mount Baker Highway. We were heading up to Artist Point. I was going to photograph up there, but I saw this cool old barn by the side of the road. And there was a house, but the barn was half covered in ivy and stuff. And so there wasn't much place to pull over. And my kind of tolerant husband, who was always freaking out because I'm always saying, pull over! And he'll go, there is like 6 inches of side road. I can't just pull over. And I'm like, yeah, you can just pull over. They'll go around us, you know? And so he had pulled over, kind of drop kicked me out of the car. Not really, but let me get out of the car. And I was and then he had gone up further to a little wider spot. So I was walking back up to the car, and I looked out in this kind of, it's
a flatbed trailer.
It was just kind of a field with a bunch of trees, and it was just on the other side of the ditch. It was all kind of grown over. There was this big flatbed trailer. And on that flatbed trailer was an old typewriter with crab pots thrown on top of it. How random is that? But this is the story. This is the forgotten story. That's what this is, what tells me. So for me, it needed to be told in black and white. And some pictures, I have a series that I did through the windows, and they're from outside the windows in, what I see in windows, kind of, you know, usually they're deserted houses. So, or old buildings and stuff, and what I see. And then sometimes they just need to be in black and white, because you need to know. I mean, this is a piece of salmon on his face, and the water, how much they're splashing through it, and just to see all that, it makes a difference on whether or not. This one I call hide and seek, because because I didn't see him when I was walking by until I went like, I heard this, and I went, shoot. And I looked, in about 50 feet away, there he was. So I just pulled my camera up and took a few pictures and kept walking, and then kind of just walked backwards, and then he got up and walked away. We were up at the top of the ridge. The edge of this is over here is a ridge that he ended up going down into the river that we had just come out of. So yeah. So that's why I call that one hide and seek, because for me, it doesn't show the bear off that much, but for me, that was the story behind it. That was what happened, you know, when you're walking by and he just kind of peeks over the top of this, you go, whoa, hello, you know. They're very fun. Anyway, so, but Monica had asked me to show something else, and if I can find this back here. Now, you guys have to be just a little patient, because okay, where did it Topaz work. There it is. Um, I have, did you, oh yeah, I'm working in Lightroom. Lightroom is my catalog. And so I photograph and then I load everything to my, either to my hard drives. I have an 8 terabyte hard drive that's almost full. Get that. Okay. So, and then you go through, and, you know, if I got rid of more stuff that was just crap, I would be in a much better space. But then I don't. So what I do is then I download it and it catalogs it through Lightroom. It doesn't store it in Lightroom. It stores a reference to it on whatever disk it's on. But it allows me to work on it. And so Monica asked me to talk about a little bit about, I have a photo that I did that has a whole bunch of images that are brightly colored that I did at a quilt show. And why would I take there? Now, this is where, for me, the images, if I was going to, do something like that in black and white instead of in color, I'd have to do a lot of work on it to make it something. It doesn't lend itself as well. It doesn't tell the same story as it does in its color. This is, I call the Quilter's Sunrise. And this was somebody's beautiful work out there. But beyond everything that was at this amazing quilt show that I went to, there was so many things that I looked at. And as a photographer, you get the funniest looks when you start taking pictures of bunches of thread. And they go, what do you see? Or Bob, we were in Maui in 2018, and literally I was laying down on the beach there was this little cool rock and the wave was coming up over it. And literally people walking by me on the beach were hunching down and looking to see what I was looking at. And they were trying to figure out what I saw. And it was hilarious. So, but, so this is the kind of thing that for me is where I go from deciding whether there's something, do I want to tell the story of texture? Like that. And that would be the beginning of it. Or do I want to tell the story in color? And I can do both on some things. It's really kind of a lot of fun. There's things of fabrics and folds that you find. I had a great time at this place. It was, some of them are not very in focus because I couldn't take a tripod in. And I had not intended to do this, but I'm not a quilter, but my sister is, and I'm the youngest of 4 girls. So when one of your older sister drags you into these things, I'm like, ah. So I found things to photograph. And there was just so many different things to do. It's just a lot of fun to put them all together. And that's what I do. I take them and I put them all together, and those actually had been turned into a poster I was going to do. But there's so many different things that you can do with this. And for me, it has a certain kind of beauty and just in the shapes and the patterns and everything like that. It may not be everybody's cup of tea. They might not find it interesting as much as landscapes, but I like that kind of thing. I also did some abstracts. This is not one I'm real fond of, but I did it. It was a matter where I took it into topaz and I combined a galaxy background and some stuff with a picture that I already had. That was not that, but the bears, they lend themselves to a whole lot of different things. The colors, when they're ripping apart a salmon, that's kind of an important part of the story. But sometimes if they're just coming forward through the water and the water is more part of the story, or maybe the claw is part of the story, then if you remove the color, then you remove a distraction sometimes. You know, it makes a big difference on whether or not on if that was part of the story or not. Yeah, this one was. So there, he's, he just caught us. You wouldn't want to take the color off of this because that salmon there flashing for his life is important. And in this one, you wouldn't want to take necessarily the color off because he was so hot. It was 75 degrees. We were in Alaska in Katmai, and it's not supposed to, I mean, at the end of July, it's usually not quite that hot up there, but it was like 75 degrees. So imagine you're 650 pounds and, giant, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 75 degrees and it's been that hot all day and you've been trying to catch 10 fish an hour. Yeah, I'm done. He says, I'm just done. Take my picture and go on, please. And here again, this story tells, it's not clearing up what's happening. It's not processing. There it is. Oh, this is the one. Yeah. So this is, again, the story is told with the color because you've got the salmon in the back, the river. You can tell that there's still rocks under there and what they're going for. And it just makes it, I think for me, it's really part of the whole story is the decision on what I want to tell and what needs to be told. So that's a lot of what I do with photography. And let's see if my abstracts are in here. And then I've started to do some abstract work. And abstracts are a lot of fun because then if somebody asks you that pressing question we talked about yesterday, did you do this in Photoshop? I can say, damn right. I proudly say it because I may have completely changed the colors on this one. I think I did on this to be something that I wanted it to be differently.
Tell me what it is.
This one?
Yeah.
I think this is the rusted side of an old train car in Astoria, I think.
Yep.
And this one is the rusted part of a some rust. Someplace I like rust. This was, believe it or not, I was down at the Getty Villa in Los Angeles, or out on, and I was walking up the stairs, and it was literally middle of the day, worst time of the day to take pictures. And I looked up, and the yellow is the travertine marble that they have there that is almost translucent that they make benches out of, and the blue is the sky. So I was looking up on the stairs, and that was the overhang. So those are the kind of fun things to do. This was in Alaska. That's those are those crevasses in the glacier that was off of one of the mountains that we were flying over to go to see the bears. And but where is Waters of Washington? Where is Waters of Washington? Water and rain. So I'm going to talk just real quick about if ever you want to try black and white. One of my favorite things for black and white is water. Water can do really cool things in black and white. Let me see if I have it down here. I did an exhibit at the I don't see it. Oh well. In downtown Seattle. And I had some of these things in here. And
Convention center.
What?
Yeah, the convention.
At the convention center. So this was one of them. and I actually ended up turning it. It's in color here, but the final version is in black and white. So when you take the little bit of color out of it, this was literally a gutter from the school I used to work at, that the water would run off the gutter so fast and so heavy that you would do things, and then to catch the raindrops or the water drops. It's a lot of fun to do. Taking pictures inside a car wash. Oh my gosh, it's through your window, you get some of the coolest things. This kind of angles and what you can do. These are all are raw pictures that I haven't even worked on any of these. Let me check something. I'm going to change to grid so I can see if there's anything that I've got in here that has been. I can't hear you. No, go ahead. Just talk louder. Uh-huh. That was a pretty, let's see, what's my info on that one? Just a sec. That's an 800th of a second. So the shutter speed was an 800th of a second. The ISO was 500 and my f-stop was 7.1. So I had a fairly good depth of field, and to some degree, but I still wanted to blur part of the edges of the spout, the main spout, and then get the other ones a little more clearly. That one's not one. So where are those? I think he's laughing. My husband's behind me. He's laughing at me because I'm Shades of Gray store. Maybe they're in here. No, I don't see the water in there. Huh. They were awards because I did win. Oh, this is one. That's from inside a car wash.
Oh.
And you want to.
And that one is it was the ISO is 2000. I was at f8 and I took it at 1/60th of a second. And I actually won an award on this one. It was really kind of funny. I was like, oh, because I was in Edmonds and we were doing this photo marathon, and you had to take at 10 o'clock. They pulled the 7 topics like at just a few minutes before 10 o'clock, and what they were, and you had between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock to fulfill all the different 7 topics that you wanted to go around someplace in Edmonds and find it and take the pictures. This one was for the topic of flow. So it was one of those things to push myself. And the problem is I didn't have any gas in I had the big Lincoln Navigator at the time. And it's not a car that is easy to get around through neighborhoods or to go down back roads where you're going to someplace where you're going to try to find something, or, that's to look for places to photograph. And so I said, man, I need gas and I better clean my car because it's a hit. So if I'm going into neighborhoods of, looking around at people's gardens or whatever I'm doing. And so I got my gas at the gas station there in Edmonds. And then I went through the drive-through car wash, and as I'm going through, I'm like, oh my God, I'm whipping my camera out and I'm taking pictures through the windshield and through the side window and the whole thing. And that one won. It won first place in the whole thing. I was like, okay. So, that just goes to show you, just shoot it, just see what you got. And I guess I want to talk about just one other little thing, because it's for this one. Can anybody see how many birds there are in that black and white?
Like they're 5?
No, there's 6. If you look right behind this one's head, there's another one. There's another set of wings back there, and the other set of wings is flying out there. It was really funny. I didn't find it until when my husband found it. Went, oh, there's 6. And I was like, yeah. So I guess one of the things I just want to say about it, when you photograph, a lot of people will say, "Well, I don't have the camera to do it." Um, Even if you had the camera, uh, you know, these things are not easy to work. The cameras and all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of work, but it also just really takes practice, and it takes just shooting. And the best camera to have, as Chase Jarvis says, is the one in your hand, is the one that you have with you. So if all you have with you is your phone,
Pretty good
take
camera.
the picture. That's fine. That's fine. You can then I mean, I'll come in on another cafe time and teach people little tricks with the different editing things that are out there, but you can, and there's not only, I mean, on your camera there's editings, but you can download apps that have little free editings, and Lightroom has a free level version of it that you can kind of use on a Lightroom mobile. It doesn't have all the features that I have by any, but you can still get all
Plus.
kind. Bob uses what Camera,
Camera
Plus.
Plus,
He uses Camera Plus all the time, and it has some great options to do. And so, really, when it comes down to it, it's about learning. Photographs is all about creative art. Is that like I said yesterday, if you're going to take pictures of something important and people like that, don't put them right in the middle of that. Let's see if I can find one where I have. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you'll notice that my sunset is not in the middle of the picture. That wouldn't do any good. It's by the rule of thirds. It's in kind of the third there, and then I've got a third of it down here in foreground, a third of it in the middle and middle ground, and then a kind of a general third in background. So like this one too. This is, again, that horizon is not exactly mid-center. It's dropped down some, and then it makes it so that this tire swing becomes.
I didn't get that.
Oh,
Could you try again?
Siri's talking to me. Sorry, Siri's talking. So it's
Interesting question.
oh geez, she's just babbling. So it's that where this is it's kind of centralized too, but then you have this horizon that's off, and and then this is what I wanted to show in here. See this tree coming in from the corner? That's called a lead-in line. Now, if I had done, let's see, flip horizontal. I can flip it. A lead-in line generally is better if it comes from the lower left and goes up, because that's kind of the way we in Western culture read, and it leads us into the picture. But this is Limekiln Park Limekiln
Lighthouse.
Limekiln Lighthouse at the state park on Whidbey Island. No, on San Juan Island. So I'm looking up at out toward Vancouver Island. So I didn't want that to be. I wanted it. It's a kind of an iconic lighthouse, and so I wanted it to be accurate. Sometimes I'll flip things around, but other times, nah.
That's really cool, and that brings up such a good point that there are these subtle things that we may not consciously think about with the photograph, but that the photographer does take into consideration.
Yeah. So
That
outside of Sedona, you head north out of Sedona toward
Oak Creek State Park.
Oak Creek State Park.
Had an apple orchard.
It has this old was an antique apple orchard, and there's this really cool river that has a rock slide in it that you can go down, and everybody does. But this was an antique tractor that was parked, and I call it waiting to work. And having grown up on an apple orchard myself, it was one of those things that I thought was just really a super cool piece of, I mean, it's lines. I mean, who has Art Deco tractors? Really.
wow.
And it's just so cool. And then other things like this one, I took from inside the car crossing a bridge because it's my binary code picture because it reminds me of that. I did a whole series with bridges and girders and stuff like that and things to do again. And then Edmonds at one time in a storm that week. Yeah. So there's just, I mean, I'm just kind of popping through some stuff that you never know what to see. Your husband thinks you're crazy when you're in the middle of driving through the back.
Ooh.
So this happens when you're driving through the back roads from Pendleton through wheat fields everywhere, and there's nothing for miles except a tiny little road you're going on, and you yell, "Stop!" And he really thinks you've lost it to the T. And next thing you know, I'm diving down into the ditch and I'm getting down low and I'm into this. And I call this one in a million.
Oh, that's cute.
So there's lots of stuff to see out there. This was that barn that I stopped and I got this guy. So this was the barn that I was stopping to take. It's not that color, but I decided to make it that color.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, as a sepia. So anyway, just grab whatever you got, take some pictures. Don't feel like you have to keep everything, but try it. If it looks dull in black and white, try it if it looks dull in color, try it in black and white. This was a bunch of onions. Yeah, and I did it that way, and then I did it in a, where's my abstract? Nope, it's not there. Onions O'Keeffe. And I did on that onion one, I have one where I did a Georgia O'Keeffe effect on it, and I call it Onions O'Keeffe, but I can't find it. I have a hard time finding things someplace, so.
I love your names. They're so clever.
The other thing that is really kind of fun to do is, okay, so, oops, no, it says Layla. I was looking for if you find, where is that black and white one of her? So kids are the best really to do, Layla and Lachlan. Here it is. So this one is my grandson when he was little, and he's going to be 3. He's going to be 3. So, but taking pictures of kids and putting them into black and white, if you have that, or even pets and stuff like that too. I mean, you can create. This is not a tough thing to do, to create this kind of a soft image, and you can do it on your phone camera too. There's a thing called clarity oftentimes that might be in your edit adjustments, and you just drop that clarity down and you can get this really soft focus kind of effect. So it can make it can just take a picture in
just show them that.
they can't see my they can't. Yeah.
See
So it's just one of those things that it's always worth a little bit to try the black and white. It makes it kind of fun. So that's my whole thing. Just grab a camera, go out and shoot, and have some fun, and that's what happens. Yeah, there's black and white. See what Yeah, that's. I think that's in Yellowstone. Yeah, that's in Yellowstone. So flowers work, shadows work. So I just have to give this last hop for this place. I don't know where you guys live, Sarah and Sid. Where do you guys live?
Los Angeles.
Okay. So have you been to the Getty?
Yeah.
Okay. When I went, I took myself there for 3 days, and I spent 2 days at the museum and 1 day at the villa. I went down because there was an Ansel Adams exhibit that wasn't it was a unique exhibit. It was a what they call a museum exhibit, where it was a private collection that he used to sell, like groups of 25 pictures to a private collector, and they would choose 15 of the pictures and he would choose 10 to go in them. So that was what this exhibit was. It was one of somebody's private collection that hadn't been in. And there was also a Minor White exhibit was opening, which was, oh my gosh. But I went on the tour that they give you, the actual person has the tour of, the docent does. And they talked about how this is the patio outside of the employee lunchroom. Okay.
I love that.
The furniture was chosen with the thought of how would the shadows and the shapes play on the actual travertine marble that makes up the squares and angles of the patio.
Wow.
Because every part of that Getty is considered a piece of art.
Wow.
The building, the structure, even the installation of the patio furniture. So all of this made that whole type of thing. So if you guys haven't gotten one of those docent tours and you didn't do it when you go there, I mean, it's well worth the whatever $6-7 that they cost. I was like, oh my God, I could spend days there. It was, yeah. And I hardly made it out of the photography section. So, I mean, yeah.
I hardly made it out of the patio.
Well, no, I spent probably a good 6 hours in the Ansel Adams exhibit one day. And I spent probably good another 6-7 hours with Minor White exhibit. And so, yeah, I kind of got lost.
That's
all right. Well, thanks a lot. I am going to stop my screen share.
Gretchen, can I ask you to share this? The story, a mini version of the story of your aunt, and I just think this is so cool. So Gretchen's aunt was super progressive. She was a lesbian woman. And how old was she?
Well, she was married. Hang on, I'm going to end this and come back to you guys. And in live video, and